I wasn't planning on chatting about this today because normally I would do a little bit of research, but as I'm walking back, I thought to myself, why don't I just jump in and see if I can framework a discussion. Okay, so the title is New World Order. Now, that title has been mentioned many times, and it is normally attached to conspiracy theories. But I suppose by its definition, it's quite correct. I suppose you could say that after the Industrial Revolution, the emergence of the steam engine, there was a new world order. Machines that were driven by horses and cows, by people, water mills, they were replaced by steam engines. And that created, any modern history expert would be able to explain to you what that meant, but there was a new world order. Now, there are going to be many examples that I just won't think of off the top of my head here. But I'm going to zoom forward to the Second World War, because after the Second World War, you could, see that there was a new world order. Every country around the world was tired, was poor, had lost a lot of people, and the world felt a very dangerous place. So the countries involved and the countries that were spectators, they had a high level of vested interest to see the world calm down again. And I suppose you could say that a new world order was, in place. You could say it was organically put in place, or it emerged. This is where, there are many conspiracy theories that, people got together and they decided, right, we now have the opportunity to create a new way of doing things in the world. And actually, very quickly, this is the property where a building was being dismantled the other day. I mentioned it, and I'm actually going to walk into it as I'm talking. So, New World Order. Now, to bring it to today, conspiracy theories range from there's a bunch of people wanting to control the world, depopulate the world, and chip everyone. Now, there is actually a little bit of evidence to support that crazy idea. And there's a guy called Aaron Russo that worked in the film industry. Now, I don't know him very well, and he's now dead, the late Aaron Russo. And he was caught on video talking about a meeting that he had with a Rockefeller. And I think we're going back to the 1980s now. And this Rockefeller wanted to meet Aaron Russo because he was a film producer and he liked him, and they got on as friends. But this Rockefeller told him that there are a group of bankers, there are a group of people that have got together, and they think sticking a chip inside everyone is a good idea, because that chip could have their identity, their tax records, their banking information, all in one place, and it would be an easy way to take taxes from people. And and I imagine, yes, you could see some value there. If a person was ill in hospital, all that information would be in the chip in their arm. But anyway, this was actually a thing spoken about by a Rockefeller and Aaron Russo on camera. And now, these videos of Aaron Russo talk about this. They were on the internet. I don't know if they still are, and I haven't looked recently, but if you type in Aaron Russo, Rockefeller, they might be there. Anyways, but this was put down to a conspiracy theory. But in America, in the 80s, 90s, they really did have a chip. That it was just an ID chip. And we'll just pause right there, because this is where there was a property. And as you can see now, it has completely gone. and it's been removed. And I think I showed you these silly little, they weren't silly, but yeah, I was walking over there, and I spoke about the diggers removing it. Anyway, I'm actually going to walk into the place where the diggers were, and there was a building here, right here, and now it's gone. So chips and IDs. So this was real. In the US, a group of people, like you'd sign up for a vaccination trial, had signed up to be chipped, and it would keep them safe and their kids safe. And it is in one of Aaron Russo's videos, and maybe I'll link it if I can find it. Okay, so that is a conspiracy theory around this notion of a new world order. And, a lot of people found it interested. A lot of people got upset by it, the idea of a group of people getting together and making decisions on their behalf. But it does raise the question, okay, in this world that we live in, who really is in charge? Are governments in charge? Now, to a large degree, your local government, your local politicians, well, okay, we'll come back to politics in a minute, but your local government, the regional government, the state government, federal government, the government of your country, to a degree, they really are in charge. They decide what colour a school should be painted. They decide on general policy that impacts the general public, and it's for the general public good. And most of the time, all these decisions, they're quite hard to make, but these decisions are correctly made, and it's all good. There's nothing spooky about this. But when you widen the scope of this conversation and you look at the finance industry, you look at Big Pharma is in there actually, and you look at big tech, and then you look at the military and the security services. The minute that you go just above, general government, if a new school should be built, if a new hospital should be, when you go above that and you look at a country's foreign policy, its domestic trade policy, that sort of thing, things start to go unclear very quickly. It's not clear what the decisions are or who's making them. Now, from a security point of view, so for example, a country's security service, they're not going to want to explain to everyone what they think and how they think and what their thoughts are, because obviously that would disadvantage the country. And there is a very legitimate reason to have security services and a military, because unfortunately on planet Earth, not every human being is a good person. Unfortunately, we do have some antisocial, dysfunctional people that are bent on hurting other people. So when you scale that up, you can very quickly see that, having a military, having a police force, having a security service, which is supposed to be the brains behind your military, there's a good reason for having them. So there's nothing spooky about that. A country needs a security service. It needs a military. It needs a police force. Because the world that we live in, the running of it day to day, things go wrong, people hurt other people, and we need to protect ourselves corporately. So there's no problem there. But where the problem creeps in is when people feel the impacts of a policy, or they feel, I suppose the impacts is the right word, and it's not clear why that policy exists, who formed it. That's when you get this, individual and social unrest. I suppose the most recent event that created huge falling outs was 9/11, was the war in Iraq. 9/11 happened, and that was a very unusual, spectacular event. And all the witness accounts indicate, one of two things. Number one, some crazy people hijacked 4 aeroplanes and 2 of those aeroplanes were flown into the Twin Towers in New York. And some of the other accounts are that this seems to be a false flag operation. You know, the US could have done that to itself. Now, look, straight away, I've got to say right there, you know, this is tricky subject matter. I don't want to get myself into trouble, and I don't want to, you know, put fuel on any conspiracy fire. So I'm not doing that. I'm just explaining how these thoughts, feelings, and ideas come along. But so things that happen in the world, and you know, right now, the pandemic, you know, these huge, complex, extraordinary events, they're always going to give rise to, you know, conspiracy theories, because there's lots of information there, whether it be true or not, to actually support, you know, an alternative theory, understanding to what's going on. So a conspiracy theory then translates into, you know, social, you know, people having different opinions, then people group together, then that opinion becomes reinforced, and then eventually people start falling out. And that's what we have today with COVID-19. But it's also what we had back at 9/11. Now, yeah, I said at the very beginning, chatting about this subject is going to be a tricky one, and I don't want to go on and on. And so I'm going to try and summarize now, so I can put the phone down, and I will have to come back to this. So what I'm saying is that the idea of a new world order is very understandable. The reason why we have people claiming there is a new world order. And to a large degree, the definition of a new world order is true. There is a new world order. It keeps happening after large events. In recent modern history, we've had the situation after the Second World War. We've had the oil wars in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and just recently the ISIS thing. And of course 9/11. And today we've got, and then we had, oh gosh, forgot, we had the financial collapse of the investment banks in 2008. Now, that is a hot one, because I think it's very, very clear that there was a hidden agenda there. I don't think anyone can you know, claim that that was a natural event. Yeah, something was absolutely not good about that. The fact that mortgages were being given to people, and it was just obvious that there was never any way that they were going to pay for these mortgages. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So, New World Order, it's very easy to see that there has been New World Orders. Today, it's very easy to understand why people think that this pandemic, COVID, might be part of a New World Order. Then you go over to the crypto Bitcoin guys. They claim that the introduction of cryptos is a new world order, and that points a spotlight on central banks, and again, dense, complex subject matter, and that we'll have to get back into. So the point I'm making in this video is new world orders, and it's plural because there will be many new world orders, come about because things change. Now, I'm going to assert, and this is one of my conclusions in my working life, that the only thing that creates change is actually, well, two things. One is technology, and the second is human nature. Those two things combined create significant change, and depending on who has got what, who's profited, who's not profited, will create a conspiracy theory, or it'll create a war, falling out to varying degrees. So the title New World Order, it covers a range of subject matter and discussion. So I will have to come back to that. So at that, I'm going to call this part one. It's just a taster of the subjects that I'm going to have to cover. Wow. Anyway, hope you are well, and I will see you again.